That was me.
Okay. I have a series of poems that I'm exploring persona. Some of you are familiar with the Matilda pieces. I have a whole manuscript I'm in the process of editing right now, and all of these pieces are a part of that narrative. Drifting away on Lake Erie. She was just a figurehead, which he had carved there to remind him of the dangers of words. He uses only silence to speak to her now. Russian men speak differently when certain words are in order, but he chose to have her carved out instead of uttering any symbol of meaning. Her heart was left in sawdust to be fashioned into paper by the fine craftsmanship of a German, whose love rose in tides. The German taught her about terrible things such as angels and roses. She knew very little outside of her harness on the prow. She stared straight ahead until bugs came to eat her away. She gave the paper heart her soul, but it was just a translation. And I lost my spot. Here it is. But it was just a translation, because the soul speaks a language that can be folded into wings, catching winds of held breath. Her position was always where he wanted her. But the words sound in the sail, he lets it luff, because in every crease he can almost make out her voice in the wind over Misery Bay, drifting toward Graveyard Pond. Yeah. I get it all shaky and stuff. Why Matilda hates her name. She tumbles, no one needs to witness. There's nothing to behold but extremes. Her fallen stayed a mighty position for conflict. The consequential wretchedness from the ignorance of humanity sometimes dumbfounds her. How can anyone see the poverty and violence that so many children live? It's inhumane how a child named Serenity may never know the meaning of the word because there is no defining factor in her life. And I lost my spot again. Sorry. A child named Serenity may never know the meaning of the word because there are no defining factors of serenity in her life, in the life she must lead. And most people could most people who could help change it don't bother. Their work's allocated in the name of something they find more important. Matilda knows her own story is some fiction and words which have grown thin, and the bar is the biggest distraction from the fact that she has found. It makes her forget how much expanse can exist in the regime of thought and words. Transference is how to get through all the shit, Matilda tells some pathetic sea dog lapping up 3 fingers of Kraken, like it were a red wine of some zealot. Helpless to help her or help anyone else because he's shackled to the things he always meant to say, but was never blessed with the means to do so. The worst feeling is meaninglessness. How can one explain the world as one knows it can no longer define hope? Even our gods are judgmental, encouraging discord instead of discourse. God seems to mean something more like a punch-struck bloodlust of some superiority complex instead of what Christian science names the supreme being understood as life. Truth, love, mind, soul, spirit, principle. Matilda's main principle, which she can never really abide, is moderation. Slow down, she warns the sailor. Listen to the moment. Learn there's no confession long enough to forgive any of our sins. Live by the meaning of your name as defined by that which is eye-catching. For fuck's sake, learn the meaning of names. She can't name the Russian sailor. She says only names define us. But if only we're reduced to only a name. His empty glass, He stands, leans over the bar, and kisses Matilda in a way only the Dead Sea can describe.
Nope.
Thank you. Washing bottles on a slow night. A woman with legs as long as Matilda walks out of the bar, making the bell on the door announce her exit. That's a tall drink of water. What sort of bottle do you suppose a Russian sailor uses to put down a woman? Matilda muses to some almost dead Irish bloke, too in love with his own imagination to ever swallow anything but a lump in his throat, hunched over her bar. He shakes his head and states any man who would rather swallow a memory honoring her than press his face on her flesh to breathe every solid inch of her is a goddamn fool. Matilda snickers, because she knows the Irishman has no idea what bottles mean to her. Her secrets are kept bottled. She understands ships and bottles are so precious, the bottles must be corked. Every open bottle means some sort of disgrace, whether real or illusion. Besides, if there's nothing covering the bottles, bugs will get in and begin to multiply, just like the roaches in the sewer. Matilda shakes a bottle, half full of flies, sighs. It's a fucking 12-year single malt. The Irishman declares, now that's a sin. And this one's brand new. This is for the book facers. Niceties. Clearly, there's a fascination with each other, lost, sucked into the revisions of superficial spaces meant to represent the qualities you most care to have observed. The world has become a book of flat faces, and there are no more faces in books. It's also confusing. Funny things happen when truth and easy have the same definition, but there's so many ways to read it. We've forgotten that we're living through our own deaths and that shit is as plain as day. Thank you.